In this video, I'm going to show you how to hack WhatsApp, Gmail, or any other account, even if it uses two-factor or multi-factor authentication, one-time password, and so on. So look, in this technique, the user gets the proper authentication page they are used to, but once they authenticate, we'll gain access to their account. And this will even work if two-factor authentication is enabled, as you can see in here. This is Zaid from Z Security, and I hack for fun, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when I upload new videos like this. And guys, if you help us grow, I'll be able to make more videos, and you can easily help us by simply liking the video and sharing it with your friends and on your social media. That will help us grow, which will allow us to make more videos and stay more consistent. So we're going to be able to do this using the browser-in-browser attack. And the way this will work is actually very simple. We're going to have a server or a computer on the cloud. We're going to install a web browser on it. This could be Firefox or anything that you want. And we're going to load the login page or the authentication page for the account that we want to hack on this browser, on this server that we control. So you're probably seeing where this is going. Then we're going to have this web browser available to be accessed and controlled through a URL. And we're going to send this address or share it with the target person. So the target person is going to load this URL. They're going to get a web browser that's going to look like their own web browser with the login page already loaded in it. They're going to log in. And once they log in, we can simply disconnect their connection to the browser, and because this web browser is loading on my own computer on the cloud, I now have full control over their account. Now, the best thing about this attack is that it's gonna always work regardless of what type of security is used on this website. This website will always look identical to the real website that the target is used to, because it is the real website that the target is used to. And it's gonna work whether it uses two-factor, multi-factor authentication, one-time password. It's gonna work against all of these security measures because we're actually loading the proper website in a normal web browser. We're not using a fake clone. So let me show you how to do this properly step by step. So the first step, we're gonna need to install a web browser on a cloud server. And you can use any server on the cloud to follow the instructions that I'm going to show you. You can even repurpose an existing server that you have. So previously I covered how to use AI to hack Android, host your own VPN, and run your own AI. All of this was done on cloud servers, and you can use any of these servers to do what I'm going to show you. Or if you don't have a server, you can go ahead and sign up with any cloud provider. I'm going to choose to go with Hostinger, the sponsors of this video, because they have pre-configured servers that will allow us to start literally within minutes, as you're going to see. And they're running a really good promotion at the moment, the New Year promotion, which allows us to get these servers at a really good price. And I can get and give you 10% discount by simply going to hostinger.com/Z security to get the special pricing. And if you scroll down, as you can see, we have different plans for different sizes of servers, as you can see. Now, the smallest you want to go with for this particular attack that we're going to cover today is this one, because you want the server to be able to run the web browser smoothly so that the target doesn't suspect that this web browser is running on the cloud. So I'm going to go with this one. It's got 2 CPUs and 8 GB of memory. And as you can see, it's only going to cost us $6.99 per month. And like I said, you can use this server for many other uses, as I showed in my previous videos. So I'm going to choose this plan. You can choose whatever you want. And I'm going to show you how we can also get further discount on it. So once you're here, I'm going to actually switch this to 12 months instead of 24 months. But you do get the most savings if you keep it at the 24 months, plus you'll get 2 extra months for free. And to get a further discount, we're simply going to click have a coupon code and type in Z Security, click apply, and that's going to give you a further 10% discount. So it's only going to cost you $6.29 per month to have your own server on the cloud, and you can use it, like I said, for so many other uses than what I'm just going to show you in this video. So we're going to scroll down, And then you can choose the location of your server. It automatically selects the one with the least latency. And scrolling down, we can select either to start a server with an operating system only without any applications installed on it. And as you can see, you can actually spin up a server on the cloud with Kali with all of the good tools that it comes in with. But what we want to do is an application, and we want to start it with Docker. So Docker is an application that allows us to deploy so many other applications basically with a single command, and you'll see in a second. So I'm going to click confirm. Now, as you can see, there are so many other applications that you can install, like Olama to run your own AI, and I covered this previously. You can install WireGuard to run your own VPN, and I also covered this previously. I'll include these videos just in case you want to learn more about this, but now we're happy, we're going with Docker. I'm simply going to click continue to create the server. Now, if it's your first time using Hostinger, you're going to have to register. Put an email and a password and register. Very, very simple. I already have an account, so I'm going to log in, filling your billing information. And now that the payment is done, it's going to automatically redirect us to this page that is going to ask us for the root password, which is the account with the highest privileges on the server that we're creating on the cloud. Just make sure you set it to something that you will remember, because you will need this password, and click next. We're not going to need the malware scanner. We're going to untick it and click finish. And now you want to give it a minute so that it goes ahead and create the server for you on the cloud, plus the applications that we requested, which in our case was Docker. And while we're waiting, this is a great time to go ahead and smash that like button and share the video with your friends and on your social media. Guys, that really helps us grow and stay more consistent and make more videos like this. Now, as you can see, it's telling us that it's all done and we're ready to go. Now, I'm not going to use any of these buttons in here because I want to show you how to actually access your management page from scratch. So usually you'd be going to the home page, which is hpanel.hostinger.com. It'll ask you to log in if you are not logged in. And once you're here, as you can see on the left, we have an item called VPS. And if we click this, you will go to your VPS servers. Now, these are old ones that I ran before, and this is the one that we just created, the KVM2, and it has Docker installed on it. This is the icon for Docker. As you can see, we have its IP in here, and it's telling us that it is running. Perfect. So we're going to click on manage so that we can manage it. And in here, we can easily click on the terminal to get terminal or command prompt access to our cloud computer. So this is basically this computer right here installed on the cloud on Hostinger. That's all done. And right now we have terminal access to it from here, so we can execute any Linux commands to control it. So we're going to use these Linux commands to carry out the next step, which is to install a web browser on this cloud server. So what we're going to do, we're going to install a Docker container, this one right here, which basically comes in with Firefox plus all of the software needed in order to make Firefox accessible through a normal URL, so that we can then share this URL with our target and they'll be able to access Firefox through their web browser, and hence they're going to access a browser within their web browser, and that's why this is called the browser-in-browser attack. Now, to install this container, first you need Docker, and we already have it installed on our server. And the second thing that we'll need to do is to run this command right here. Very simple command. But I just slightly modified it for our use. So I have the same command in here. The only thing is I changed the port to port 80 because that's the default port that web servers run on. And therefore, if we run something on port 80, we will not have to specify the port in the URL bar. So it'll be a lot less suspicious. I'm also using the -v option in here so that I run the web browser with a specific configuration so that I can install plugins such as a keylogger and so on, so that I can store the key strikes and the passwords that the target will input when they log into their account, and everything else stays the same. So we're using Docker to run a container, The container name is going to be Firefox Setup, and I'm calling it Setup because this is going to be the instance that we're going to use to set up our attack. And I'll show you later when we run it for attack mode. We're going to run it on port 80 so that it's less suspicious, so that we don't have to specify the port in the URL bar, and we're specifying the directory where the setup information will be stored, which is Firefox data. And then we're specifying the maximum amount of memory to be used. And finally, this is the actual name for the container that we want to run, this container right here. And I'll include this command for you guys in our blog post, not in the YouTube video. So make sure you go ahead and there if you want to copy and paste it. And I'm simply just going to paste it in my terminal in here. Give it a moment to download and install all of the needed applications. And now that this is complete without any issues, we should be able to access it by simply going to the IP of our server. So to get the IP, all we have to do is simply go to our management panel here. This is the IP. I'm going to copy it, open a new tab, paste it, hit enter. And perfect. As you can see, we have a Firefox browser in here that is loaded inside of my other browser, which is Brave in this instance. Now, obviously, there is a bit of work to be done in here, but this is the main concept of this attack. We have a browser in a browser. We can load anything that we want in here, share this URL with the target, and you can make this look very believable. I know this looks a bit suspicious right now, and I'll talk about it in a second. And then the target logs in, and you will have all the information that they log in with, because this browser, this one right here, the Firefox browser, is actually installed on a web server in here that we control. Now remember, this is the setup instance. This is not the one that we're going to share with the target. So let's set it up. First of all, I'm going to click on these three little dots in here, and we're going to move the quality all the way up to the max so that the colors in here seem more realistic. And we're going to reduce the compression level all the way down, again, to increase the quality and make this browser look more believable as if it is running locally here on my computer. So that's done. The next thing that we want to do is to go ahead and install a keylogger on this browser so that when I share this with my target and then they go in and log into their account or use their keyboard, my Firefox browser in here will register every single keystrike they log in with. And we can easily do that using a Firefox extension. So I'm simply going to click on Discover Extensions in here, and I'm going to look for Keylogger. The first result is actually good, this one right here, Nifty Keylogger. And all you have to do is simply click Add to Firefox to add it to Firefox. We're going to click Add one more time, click OK, and that is added. Now I'm going to just go ahead to its settings. And in here, I'm just going to make sure that it's going to run in private windows. We're not actually going to need this, but I just want to make sure that it's always going to run. The main one I want to choose is this one right here to run it on sites with restrictions as well, just so that this keylogger is always running in the background. It's also important to remember how to access the keylogs that this keylogger stores. And to do that, you have to press Alt, Shift, and K at the same time. So keep that in mind. We're going to need that in order to access the keystrikes entered by our target. So now that we're happy with this, I can simply go back to my terminal and switch off that instance. And to do that, we're going to use the Docker command because we are running this instance through Docker. We're going to say that we want to stop Firefox-setup because that's what we called this instance. Hit enter, and that will run without any issues. Perfect. And the next thing I'm going to do is actually remove this instance because I don't need it anymore. All of the settings that we made are stored in this directory, Firefox data. So when we run a new instance in the next stage, we're actually just going to run it with the configuration stored in here. And that's why I used the V option. So let's go ahead and remove this instance, docker rm to remove. And the name of the instance is Firefox Setup. Hit enter, and that is done. Now the next stage is to run Firefox in kiosk mode without the URL bar and without the tab bar. As a result, it's going to look very believable, and the user is not even going to be able to tell that the login page is loaded inside another browser that we control. So we're using Docker. We're using the run to run a Docker image. It's the same image, the one that we had before. We're only naming it something else. We're calling it Firefox Kiosk. We're still running it on port 80 so that you don't see any port numbers in the URL bar. You'll see two new options in here. The first one is to specify the URL that we want to open, because remember, we're not going to have a URL bar, so we have to specify it in here. And we're choosing to load Gmail because I want to gain access to a Gmail account of my target. You can replace this with any login page that you want your target to see. We're setting the FF kiosk to 1 to tell it that we want to run it in kiosk mode. We're using the V option, similar to what we did previously, but this time to load the configuration that is stored in this specific directory. Because remember, we installed the keylogger, and you could have installed many other plugins or extensions that you want. So make sure you use this V option to load the same settings that we set in the previous stage. And then the rest of the command is similar to what we had previously. I'm simply gonna copy all of this. We're going to go back to our terminal in here. I'm going to clear the screen. We're going to paste the command and hit enter. And perfect. As you can see, this runs without any issues at all. So now let's go back to our instance in here, simply just our IP. And perfect. As you can see, we get a Gmail page. As you can see, we don't see any of the Firefox window. We don't see the URL bar. The web view is loading fully inside my current web browser, even though it's Firefox and it's loading inside of a Brave. Now, as you can see, we still have these three little dots in here, which are quite suspicious if the target sees them. So let's get rid of them. To do that, I've already crafted a small patch in here. All we're doing in this patch is that we are locating the elements that we need to hide, which are these elements. And I was able to get it by simply inspecting the page. If you have any web development experience, you'll be able to see that easily. And we're setting the display property to none, which means that we want to hide it. And all of this exists in the index.html file of the NoVNC application, which is the application that is loading Firefox for us through the web browser. So all you have to do is copy this. I'll again include it in the blog post in zsecurity.org. Make sure you go there if you want to copy and paste it. We have it in here. We're just going to execute it in the terminal, hit enter, and that should have patched it. So if I refresh the page now, perfect. As you can see, that is fully gone in here. And we simply have a login page that looks identical to the Gmail login page because it is the Gmail login page. And this will work with multi-factor, two-factor, all kinds of factors authentication. So again, we're still testing. We'll talk about the URL in here in a second. I'll tell you how it can be improved, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to copy this URL. We're going to go to the target computer in here. We have a Windows computer, and we're simply going to assume they're going to go ahead. They're going to go to that URL. And as you can see, they'll get the login page that looks identical to the Google login page. They're going to put in their username. So let's put in the username. And then it's going to ask me for the password. Hit enter. And as you can see now, we are being redirected to the two-factor element of this. So two-factor authentication is enabled on this account. And as you can see, it is working as expected. It's going to send a text message to a phone number. So again, as the user, I'm going to have to put in the phone number. And now a code has been sent to the phone number that I entered. I have the code in here. It's 232479. Hit enter. And perfect. As you can see, I am being logged in to that Google account, even though two-factor authentication was enabled on it. And again, as a victim, I have access to my account now, and I can go ahead and check my email and respond to emails, and everything looks identical and will work exactly as I expected because this is Gmail. Now, the really cool thing about this is that all of this is happening on a server in here that I fully control. So right now in here, using the same URL, I've got access to the target. So all I have to do right now is cut the connection for the target, and I will maintain access to their account. And keep in mind, I have a keylogger running on this web browser, so I also have their password now. So let me show you. In order to cut the connection, all we're going to do is use a firewall rule or an IP table rule. So we're going to go back to our terminal. I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to use IP tables, which is a built-in firewall, in order to drop all of the connections that come from outside of the local network. So to do that, I'm going to use the -I option to specify the user, and the user is Docker user. That's the user for Docker. We're saying we want to drop any connection that is not local. So we're going to use the exclamation mark to specify a negative rule. We're going to specify the local interface, and we want to be dropping the TCP packets that are not local, that are coming to the destination port, the port 5800, because that is the port that NoVNC, which is the application that is streaming Firefox at the moment, is running on. And we're just going to say that we want to drop all of these packets. So I know this command might seem a little bit complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. IP tables is the application that we're using, which is a built-in firewall. We're saying we want a rule that will apply to the Docker user, and we're using the exclamation mark to say that we want this rule to apply to any TCP packet that goes to port 5800 that is not local. So anything that is not local that is going here, we want to drop it. Therefore, only local connections will be allowed. So we're going to hit enter. And just to show you, if we go back now to the target and refresh, you'll see that the connection is dropped in here. We're not going to be able to access Gmail anymore. That's completely fine. That depends on your social engineering. You could tell them that this was a test application to access Gmail from whatever. That all goes to your social engineering, and we'll talk about that in a second. But now for us as hackers, we want to be able to also access their account, because right now our connection got disconnected in here as well. So to do that, we have to set up a tunnel between my own computer and this computer on the cloud. And to do that, I'm going to open up my terminal, and in here, I'm going to use the SSH command to create this tunnel. So I'm going to use the -L to specify the port forwarding options of this tunnel, and I'm going to forward port 8080 on my local host, on my local computer, to port 80 on the remote host. And I'm going to log into the remote host by saying root, which is the user with the most privileges on that computer, at the IP of that computer. And to get the IP, all we have to do is go back to the management in here, copy it from here, and paste it here. So we're simply using SSH to create a tunnel between my local computer and my server on the cloud, so that I can access the server on the cloud as if it's my local computer, because as we saw earlier, the firewall is only allowing local people now to access the server. We're forwarding port 80 on the remote server because that's the port that the Firefox stream is working on, to port 8080 on my local computer. And the reason why I'm choosing 8080 on my local computer, because I already have a web server running on port 80. So I'm choosing 8080 to avoid conflict. So now I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to accept this connection and input the root password that we set up when we created this server. And perfect, now I'm logged into that server, and as a result, I should be able to access it as if it's my local computer. So now I can go back to a new tab, and instead of putting the actual IP of my target, because as you can see, that's not going to allow me to connect, I can connect to it by typing localhost and inputting the IP we chose in the port forward, which is 8080. If I hit enter now, perfect. As you can see, I have access to the target's Gmail account in here. I can see all of their emails. I can reset any other password that is linked to this Gmail. I can send emails, receive emails, do anything that they can do with their account. Not only that, I can also see all of the keystrokes they inputted on their keyboard through the keylogger that we installed earlier. Now we also have access to the password that the user used in order to log in, and we have access to every single keystroke they typed on their keyboard. And I'm going to show you how to access that in a second. But first, I want to show you how to use this exact same technique to gain access to WhatsApp accounts or any other account that uses QR code for authentication or tokens or one-time passwords. So first, let's go ahead and stop this instance by doing docker stop Firefox kiosk, and we'll also do docker rm to remove it. And before we run the attack, we need to disable the firewall rule that is preventing people from accessing this web server. So to do that, basically we're undoing the rule that we already created. So this is the rule that we used to stop the access, and to allow it, all we have to do is do -d instead of I in here, and that should restore the access. And now all we have to do is simply run Firefox again, exactly the same way as we did before. The only difference is, instead of Gmail in here, we're going to put the account that you want to hack. And in our case, we want to get access to WhatsApp. So we're going to do web.whatsapp.com, and we're going to copy all of this, paste it here, hit enter, go to our Firefox, go to the tab, refresh, and perfect. As you can see, we get the default page for the WhatsApp web, and I just zoomed in because I feel like this looks a bit more professional. And if you don't know, this page allows you to access your WhatsApp account through this URL by scanning this QR code. But keep in mind that this web browser is running on my own computer on the cloud. So if I manage to social engineer anybody by telling them this is a new version of WhatsApp, this is an automation, this is an AI that will manage your WhatsApp for you, and all you have to do is scan this QR code. If I manage to social engineer anybody to scan this QR code, I will gain access to their WhatsApp account. And as you can see, all you have to do is give them this link. And like I said, we can make this link look very believable. We will talk about it in a second. So now, just for testing, I'm going to go ahead and open this link from my phone just to show you. We're going to scan the QR code, click continue, scan it one more time, and that's it. As you can see, WhatsApp is actually loading the chats for me now on the web interface. And perfect. As you can see, now I have full access to the target's WhatsApp account. I can send and receive messages, reset passwords, and the list goes on, as you know. And this is just another example of how we can use the browser-in-browser attack to gain access to any online account, even if it uses two-factor, multi-factor, one-time password, QR codes, as you can see in here, or any other type of authentication. And we're able to do all of this for the simple fact that we are loading the proper actual website of the target. We're not using a fake website, we're not using a fake clone, we're not using any of that, and that's why this will always work. Now, the only problem with this attack, as you can see, is the fact that we are sharing the URL, this one right here, with the target. Now, it's easy to social engineer the target to make them believe that this is a beta application for testing, or it's an AI, or whatever you want to say. But when you share a URL like this with the target, it only says HTTP, it says not secure in here, and it shows an IP. These three things make it a bit more suspicious, but you can address all of these things. You can make it say HTTPS in here, you can make it say secure in here, and you can link it to a proper domain name, for example, whatsapplogin.co if it's available. But to do that, this video will get even longer than what it is at the moment, and I covered that in details in my hacking masterclass. Not only that I covered that, but I also cover how to do this for mobile devices so that this web view right here automatically resizes to the size of the screen. So if the target loads this website from a tablet, from a phone, it'll automatically load and it's going to display a keyboard, because as we know for mobiles, when you tap an input box, you need to see a keyboard. So I show you how to configure all of this so that this attack will even work against mobile phones, plus make it say secure, make it say HTTPS, and also link it to a domain name. So if you're interested in this, check out the hacking masterclass. I'll link it below in the description. And the last thing I want to show you right now is how to access the keystrikes that we registered so far. So we're going to go back to our terminal. I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to stop the current instance and remove it. And then I'm going to start another instance without the kiosk. So basically can start a similar one to the first one we ran when we ran it for settings. I'm going to hit enter. And that is already running. Let's refresh in here. And perfect. And let's go ahead and access the keylogs. We're going to go to the extension settings. And in here, all you have to do is press K-Shift-Alt. And perfect. As you can see, we have the keylogs in here. And as you can see, I typed in my username in here, jhnwck70@gmail.com, OM in here. And then I proceeded, I was going to put a fake password, but then I realized I have to log in properly to show you how to log in. And if I keep scrolling down, you will see my real password that I used to log in. So I'm not going to show you that. But as you can see, I was even able to capture the username and the password and anything else that they would type through their keyboard on this browser. And like I said, guys, this technique is going to work against any authentication page, even if it uses two-factor, multi-factor, one-time password, it doesn't really matter. And please remember, guys, that we're covering this for educational purposes only. Do not test accounts that you do not own or don't have permission to test.